A huge amount of data has leaked, and the Walt Disney Company is scrambling to make sense of the numbers now that simply do not add up with what they've been reporting to investors over the past years. Today we'll take a deep dive, not alleging any wrongdoing, but simply saying, hey Disney, why are you making so much less on Disney Plus than what we have been led to believe? Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and happy TGIF to everybody out there. It's Friday. Jonas J. Campbell, are you enjoying this start to the weekend, sir?
Absolutely. I've got a great, big, beautiful tomorrow starting at about 5 o'clock today.
Shining through at the end of every weekday, but specifically, this day, because there are 2 fun days on the way. And folks, we hope you're going to have a good weekend. And if you're doing one of those jobs where you don't get a weekend when it's still working, well, hang in there, folks. And hopefully you're at least making some money doing what you do. You can help us do what we do by clicking the like button, and we'll get straight to the topic at hand. Jonas, there's leaked information out there about Disney Plus and Disney World and all kinds of stuff. The Disney Plus stuff is the thing that I think is most interesting because it points to some very serious problems that we have identified in the past, and Bob Iger's probably none too pleased it's out there. I also want to put a caveat at the beginning of this, folks. This information was obtained via a hack, and we are not reporting from the hack. And we would not do that. We are not unethical. We're not bad in any way. Well, maybe it's not a hack. Maybe it's a, what should we call this, Jonas?
I think that this is not a hack. I think this is a leak, which is a different entity than a hack, because a hack implies malicious activity from the outside. And I'm hearing from many sources that this was cooperated upon.
Okay, well, whatever the case might be, I just want people to understand that we took no part in obtaining this information. It made it onto all of the big news outlets out there, and we're going to commentate on it now. But we're very careful about when we get info, what it is that needs to go out there and what is not appropriate. So we try to be appropriate in all things. That Park Place is the place we're going to right here. And folks, if you're not yet bookmarked to the website, make sure that you do so as soon as possible. You don't want to miss out on all the latest. I am the author of this one, and let's get straight to it. I talk about how much the Walt Disney Company has spent on Disney Plus, on its investments there, and I might as well talk about Hulu as well. Folks, if you add up all the Disney Plus and Hulu investments Disney has done since 2017, 18, 19, Jonas, I think they've spent about $100 billion. Fair?
I think that's about right. I mean, honestly, when you consider the $70 billion purchase price of Fox that was specifically to bolster streaming, according to Bob Iger's own words, that accounts for a pretty large chunk of it right there.
All right. So with that in mind, folks, $100 billion is where the hole is. We've got to get $100 billion in revenues to ever justify having done this, because you've got to get to the break-even point. You don't have to break even in a quarter. You have to break $100 billion even to make this make any kind of sense. All right. According to Reuters, the leaks of Disney Plus financial information are legitimate, even if the means to acquire them are definitively not so. The leaked files include granular details on revenue generated by products such as Disney Plus and ESPN Plus, park pricing offers, and what appears to be login credentials for some of Disney's cloud infrastructure. The report said that out of Reuters. While some of the acquired data is provided in a ho-hum way by various news outlets, a further investigation into what is really being provided shows that Bob Iger's Disney Plus strategy may be a real albatross for the company. And here is the big one, Jonas. Let's take a look at it. According to the documents, Disney Plus generated more than $2.4 billion in revenue in the quarter, which ended in March. Now, that sounds like a big deal until you realize what those numbers actually mean. We'll talk about it in just a moment. That's 43% of the revenue generated by the company's direct-to-consumer business, which includes Hulu and ESPN Plus. And I'm going to counter that. I think that Ariel Zilver is assuming that ESPN Plus is included in that. Jonas, because of the bizarre way that Disney has structured itself, I don't think that ESPN Plus is actually included. What do you think?
I think that you're correct. ESPN is off on its own in the financial statements. And the way that we've examined these financial statements, ESPN is only included at the top level and only recently when they say combined direct-to-consumer plus ESPN revenue in order to get it right above the mark here. That $2.4 billion in revenue, they're needing it's like 44 million or so that they're talking about at the top level, that they're above the line there, and only by including ESPN Plus.
All right. Now, so if we then, I think, rightfully conclude that Disney Plus and Hulu are the two platforms in this bundle here, 43% is being generated by Disney Plus, 57% generated by Hulu, we believe, okay? Not 100% sure, but I will say that if ESPN Plus is included in this, then Disney has some catastrophically bad problems, and maybe we'll do another video on that. If that is the case, one of these platforms is making $0, okay? That's the only way that can be true. So we'll talk about that one day maybe. But we believe 57% of the revenues are generated by Hulu. All right. Here's the deal. There are 153.8 million Disney Plus accounts, and there are $2.4 billion in revenues for that quarter. Jonas, that means that $15.63 is the average revenue per account for that quarter. However, Jonas, dividing that into three because quarters are 3 months each, that is only $5.21 on average per account that has a Disney Plus account for each month. So that would be January, February, and March. Disney averaged $5.21 in revenue per subscribing account. Now, that is a terrible problem for Disney, Jonas, because that is far less than even the lowest tier that Disney has for North America. $7.99 is the least that you pay. And what this indicates to me is that there are many, many accounts out there that are paying far less than that. Otherwise, this number can't be that low, because remember, $7.99 is the bare minimum. And then that is supposed to actually be bolstered by ad revenue. So there's no way that Disney should be making less than $10 per account, yet they're making $5.21. Jonas, your thoughts on some of this, and we'll continue this conversation, but your first thoughts on it.
I think that you're absolutely correct. And if we looked at the average revenue per user that Disney has listed in their financial statements, I'm pretty sure it's going to be higher than that. This would also include what was assigned by Disney. So if we're talking about the Charter Spectrum deal, where Disney is giving Disney Plus subscriptions to Charter Spectrum customers, and they're taking that out of the revenue from their cable bill, right there. Disney is getting to assign how much of that money is going to this figure here. So I'm having to think that if they're coming up with an average revenue per user that is higher than that what is we talking $5.21 per user here? That is Disney boosting that on their financial statement, not with fraud. I'm not saying it's fraud, but I'm going to say accounting wizardry.
There's some wizardry going on because this is simple math. Jonas, also, we should notice for the audience that this is not profit. This is revenue. Now, maybe this information that's been brought to us is inaccurate. Maybe it's been phrased incorrectly, but we only have what we have. And what we have is this being called revenue, not profit.
And just to be clear, March 30th of 2024, Disney Plus Core, which is their bragging metric right here, says that they make $7.28 per user. So they're adding an additional $2 here. Now that it could be that it's not the Disney Plus Hotstar figures here that they're leaving those out, and that represents about 36 million users that they're only making 70 cents on per quarter. So
okay,
something is awry here.
Let's play with another thing then, Jonas. There are a great number of Disney Plus accounts that have been brought in through third-party deals. We've talked about Disney making the deal with Charter. Disney right now at war with DirecTV, probably trying to get this deal to also bolster their subscriber numbers. I know that Verizon, for example, brings in huge numbers of Disney Plus subscribers. And some of these deals, it's not apparent to me that people are paying for their Disney Plus accounts. Jonas, I think partly what this data dump might do is it might wake up investors, and I'm not giving financial advice, but it might wake up investors to the reality that the subscriber numbers don't matter. They're not real in a tangible way. What is real is the revenue. And the revenue tends to be the slippery thing we never get. We get the subscriber numbers, or at least we used to. We don't often get, here's how many people have paid accounts. Here's how many people have free accounts. Here's how many people don't even know they have multiple accounts because they're on, they've got Verizon and Charter and they had a Disney Plus account last year. I would like to see all that broken down now because the numbers don't add up anymore. And that's the big story here in this video. These numbers don't add up versus what Disney has. Jonas?
No, I totally agree. Disney does not do these with transparency. And we got to see the two sides of it, Nelson Peltz's side of things and Bob Iger's side of things, when they went through their financial statements one by one. And it was very clear to see when they would talk about how much revenue they made on on Star Wars versus how much they paid for it. For anyone actually familiar with what was going on, they were sandbagging the figures. They were counting things that they should not have counted in these presentations. So there's a concept where if a person is not faithful in a small thing, why would they be faithful in a big thing? So when we're talking about a simple thing such as Disney Plus revenue, we know that this isn't, if you've been following this channel or that Park Place or Valiant Renegade, you know that they're not quite telling the truth with Disney Plus. And we know that even adding the ESPN Plus figures in there, this thing is barely squeaking by with a few million. That's a razor thin margin when we're talking about $2.4 billion. They're squeezing by with a few measly $1 million of profitability and coming to Wall Street and saying, see, Dad, technically I passed the class with a D plus.
That's a great grade for Disney. Jonas, the one place I'd like to wrap this part of the conversation up, and then I want to talk about the Disney World stuff you have. You're exactly right in terms of they're scraping by with $2.4 billion in revenues per quarter. I don't understand how they're going to ramp up content now, which will be necessary to hold on to these subscribers. You can't have smoke and mirrors for your subscriber numbers forever. The ad partners are going to want viewership. We have watched on Nielsen, Disney is gone from the Nielsen charts largely. It's basically Bluey Plus at this point. So if they're barely scraping by with $2.4 billion in revenues, where's the money going, Jonas? What are they spending on that they can't afford to make a few darn good shows each quarter?
Well, they're spending it on a $500 million production of Snow White live action starring Rachel Ziegler, who is going one by one and trying to offend every aspect of the audience before that movie finally comes out. The film division comes to mind as an endless money pit where it doesn't count if they make any money because they've already spent it all several times over. Or it's going into, we hear it's going back into the parks division, but that's only a measly $60 billion over 10 years. So that's not even, and only half of that is going towards building new things, if any of you are hearing that for the first time.
Can I just explain something real quick, Jonas, that you brought up? For the average viewer out there, they're not going to understand this. Because of how many companies Disney is actually, right? It's this huge group of companies all combined together. Disney Plus is its own company, and the Disney film stuff is separated out, and it's really complicated. So I'm not going to explain it right now, but it would take 30 minutes to explain all of the different amalgamations of the film companies and studios and, the pop-up third-party stuff. So let's just put it this way. Disney Plus, okay, I'll start it this way. When a movie such as Snow White has a price tag of $500 million, and it comes out and it flops at the theaters, one of the ways that is made to be less poignant, less devastatingly impressive is that Disney Plus then comes in and buys that movie to put it on Disney Plus. So within Disney, there are companies buying things from other Disney-owned companies. So Disney Plus is buying from the studios these movies or shows to put on Disney Plus. For example, Disney Plus bought The Acolyte from Lucasfilm, okay? So that's one of those ways that they're spending ridiculous amounts of money inside Disney from Disney Plus and apparently only scraping by. It seems like they're how should we say this? They're subsidizing the suck of their studios and the other film companies and everybody else with Disney Plus. And meanwhile, the investors are the ones getting hosed. Is that right? Maybe.
I think that's the right way to think about it. Or all of this money is going to, and just like it has for the last several quarters, that money goes to Comcast and to the Fox investors or whoever put up the money for Disney to buy Fox at this point, because there's another $4 to $5 billion that Disney's going to have to pay to Comcast probably before the end of the year, if that doesn't go to court, dragging that out even farther.
Can I just say, Jonas, if you add up the Fox deal, the Hulu deal, and Disney Plus, you're easily over $150 billion. Let me say again, $150 billion spent by this company on boondoggles in the past 10 years. Is that currently more than the company is worth? It's right at it. It's amazing.
I think they're at 170 billion in market cap, maybe right now.
So it's in the past 10 years, they have spent on absolute boondoggles the amount of their entire company's worth, and nobody's talking about it. Anyway, sure would have been nice if that money had gone to the parks. Jonas, you want to talk about the parks for just a moment? I think you've got
Sure. Yes. From the same leak here, the Wall Street Journal did a deep dive, and we're probably going to be covering this in depth over on that Park Place. But here, from their analysis, Genie Plus and Disney Plus, a spreadsheet exposed in the leak appears to detail revenue generated from Genie Plus, the premium park pass launched in 2021. The pass is a signature achievement of Disney's theme park division chief. Hey, Pro, guess who pops up if you click this link?
I bet we're going to see a tomorrow.
Yes, it is. It is Josh D'Amaro and not Bob Chapek. And the data underscores how vital Genie Plus has become to the financial performance of that unit. The file indicates that the pass has generated more than $724 million in pre-tax revenue between October 21st and October 21 and June 2024 at Walt Disney World alone. So just one park, and in just 2 years here, we're talking about almost $1 billion, $750 million in revenue.
So that's almost $250 million per year. And well, it depends on how we'll go with it. About $250 million a year. The problem with that, Jonas, is it's essentially $250 million. I'm going to put this in quotation marks, folks. It's not literal. Stolen from guests, because the value that is given to them from this $250 million per year is almost zilch. This was free for decades, and it worked great. And now the parks are horrifically ruined by this new system. And if you buy this, you are basically getting hosed unless it is a very crowded day. So the problem is that's a sacrifice. That's a massive sacrifice of the long term for the short term. You are making people
I'm going to say
the experience.
It's not just making people pay more. It's ruining the experience for these people. So it's essentially a net negative for the park. And now there's a rumor that there is a new Lightning Lane service just around the bend. Not another Lightning Lane replacement, because Genie Plus was replaced with Lightning Lane Multipass and Lightning Lane Single Pass or Single Ride. Now it sounds like they're going to be adding Lightning Lane Premier Pass on top of the entire system here.
Okay,
so more on that.
So let me give an analogy to this, Jonas. Let's imagine that Walmart decided that they were going to make their checkout systems, whether it's self-checkout or whether it's checking out with an actual person, they're going to make that 50% slower. But you can pay for Walmart Plus, and it will increase the speed of checking out by 50%. That would be baking into the system a net negative for everybody, but you can have a return to the experience you once upon a time had for an additional cost. That is what Disney has done with their parks, and it has damaged the experience dramatically, but it's baked in now. It is part of their lifeblood. They can't extricate themselves from this, and that's a huge problem. It's a huge, huge business problem.
I totally agree with you. And, as we're following so many of the issues that are going on here, as they add more and more to try to get more and more out of guests, the items that they're cutting out of the parks as well, like cutting entertainment at Disneyland, the fact that we know that attendance is low. There's this carriage deal with DirecTV that is protracted, or the fact that we now know that Disney has said that they are going to stop paying for master's degrees in the tuition reimbursement program and putting a cap on tuition reimbursement for each employee for the, it sounds like for the entirety of their lifetime working for the company. It sounds like this is a company that has got severe cash flow issues, on top of the fact that Disney Plus, which was supposed to save the company, has now become basically the funeral dirge for cash flow at this company.
Folks, we're not here to tell you what to do with your money. We're not here to tell you what to do with your investments. And we're not here to tell you what's going to happen to Disney or its stock. We are here to tell you that we've provided the data, the facts as best we know them, as we see them. We see problems. All right, folks, something we don't see a problem with is you clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment right on down below. Let us know your thoughts and weigh in. Do you feel that this company is weighed down by really, really bad decisions? Jonas, a great decision is checking out That Park Place, the YouTube channel. What do you have coming up?
Oh, well, we've got the fact that Warner Brothers has just announced that they are going to get into the theme park business. It sounds like here in the United States, maybe, which is fascinating because most of their big IPs are already held by other companies. But we've got a blueprint for what their theme parks might look like based on some of their Abu Dhabi theme parks they have out there. It might be very interesting to check up on that. Of course, we're going to have a deep dive into Premier Pass over there, and we're going to go through somebody's lying when it comes to that carriage dispute. So we're going to have a little talk about that over there on That Park Place.
Sounds to me like Mr. Zaslov has a little bit of Epic Universe indie, folks. All right, we also want you to go check out That Pod Place. It's where we have all that long format, wonderful discussion you so desire. Go check it out at That Pod Place and tell Vash we sent you. Folks, until the next time, we wish you very well. Hope you're having a great weekend. Keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep.
Are you sick and tired of stuff being swept under the rug because you or the media are too lazy to actually deal with it? Or are things just building up around you so much that you can no longer ignore it? Also like the mainstream media? Well, I got the solution for you. I'm Wilton the Troll, and I want to tell you about this revolutionary new product called Jonas. That's right, no longer do you have to put up with stuff shoved under the rug. You can actually get rid of it and dispose of the problem in seconds by using Jonas. You can, in a matter of seconds, deal with the political and illogical buildup of the muck and grime around you effectively and efficiently with Jonas. You might think this is an ordinary vacuum, but you'd be wrong. You can clean up and remove from one end, but Jonas, he actually works from both ends. From the back end, Jonas can blow a whole bunch of hot air, and that's cool. Remember, folks, if you actually want to deal with the dirt and grime the mainstream media has been neglectful about, get Jonas, 'cause Jonas sucks.